everybody! So today, here on Demented Inc.'s Demented Librarians YouTube channel, welcome back, we are going to do a book review. Now, if you've been watching my channel, you know that I am thoroughly enthusiastic about stories. I am incredibly grateful to all of the authors and their hard work and their efforts to put stories and books into the public realm. I firmly believe that this is the fabric of our society and our culture and our generations and human evolution. Stories play a massive part in that. All that to say, some books are better than others, and some just kind of profoundly suck. Now, I don't like to say that because the thing is, when a story gets out into the public, that means that there has been a long list of people who have thought that there was plenty of merit behind the story. So that means that your agent thought it was good, your publisher, your editors, there's all kinds of people between the author making the story and the reader actually reading it. So a lot of times I feel like bad reviews are kind of aimed at how dare the author kind of do this, period. And then there's nothing wrong with venting. I mean, I totally understand this, but I try to stick with the positive, like what can we get out of this book? But occasionally, sometimes, I come across one where I have a hard time finding redeeming anything, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. Now, first of all, I want to talk about this author. You may have heard of him. His name is R.L. Stine. Now, he's been writing for many, many years. I read his Fear Street series when I was younger. Goosebumps, you may have heard of them. I believe they were made into a TV show. Fantastic books. I remember just gobbling them up. Don't remember too much about any particular one, so maybe it was kind of a quantity over quality kind of situation. But that said, I've read some amazing adult books written by young adult horror authors. For example, Christopher Pike has written some incredible, he's the contemporary of R.L. Stine, has written some incredible adult novels, which are some of my favorites ever. So sometimes the transition goes very well from young adult and horror to even literary fiction to adult novels. And perhaps sometimes we just we miss the mark, we're off by, say, a few thousand feet. This book is called Red Rain. It's by R.L. Stine. It was not one of my favorites. So let's get into why, okay? And I've actually made some notes here for myself because I wanted to be constructive as much as I can about this. So again, like I've mentioned, I've read plenty of his stuff before, really enjoyed it or remember enjoying it. I think Fear Street's getting a TV series soon, or maybe it already has. So, I mean, clearly this guy's got plenty of experience. He understands how to put a story together. He knows what he's doing, okay? So when I saw that he had written an adult book, I was like, woohoo, let's do this, right? I was walking through my favorite bargain bookstore and I saw his novel and sitting in lovely hardback, and I mean the cover is kind of really fascinating. It's really great. Let's quickly read the back of it really fast so you can kind of see what I picked up on. It says, "First came the hurricane, the red rain began to fall, the blood of its victims, and the twin angels emerged. Leah is in the wrong place at the wrong time, trapped on an island during a terrible hurricane. She barely escapes alive. Out of the carnage, two orphan boys appear, innocent, angelic, and thrilled to be adopted by their new mother. But these are no ordinary children. They bring the gift of death, and they want to share it with the whole town. What do you do when evil enters your home?" Well, you kick it out. That's what you do. You cleanse that place, you throw down some salt, you call in the Winchester brothers, and you just deal with things. You get Sam and Dean up in there. That's what you do when evil invade your home. Or barring that, just get some good sage or move. That's my other favorite option. Move. Moving on. So, Red Rain, ladies and gentlemen. So I started reading this, and the dialogue was, how shall I put this, stilted. It did not flow very well. There was some pretty truncated statements. It was kind of jerky and halting. I'm a very particular person when it comes to Southern dialogue because I am Southern. I write Southern dialogue in some of my novels. And y'all, let's talk about y'all. That's Y apostrophe A-L-L, okay? It's not Y-A apostrophe L-L. It is Y apostrophe A-L-L because it is abbreviation for you all, okay? It's plural. When you use y'all, you're talking to a group of people, okay? If you're talking to multiple groups of people, it's all y'all. Very particular. Little backstory in Southern culture there. So this book was not using y'all correctly. It was using it as singular. So already this is kind of making me twitch a little bit, right? So we've got some stilted dialogue. We've got the incorrect use of y'all. I'm going, where was the editor? How did this happen? Okay, so the boys that the back cover mentions, you meet them. And they speak in a very peculiar dialect. I was never able to pinpoint if it was supposed to be Irish or maybe Cockney. It was sort of an interesting blend. I couldn't hear it in my head the way it was written. Again, dialogue issues, yes. And it is completely fine to have your characters speak funny. I mean, totally. Maybe, though, give a nod to it somewhere. Talk about their history, their heritage, where they came from, why they do this. One character can ask another, why you talk so funny? I mean, there's about 1,000 ways to incorporate that into the story to make it seem organic and explain to your reader why they can barely understand two of the main characters. Just saying. That was never done, at least in my memory or the way I was reading it, and to R.L. Stine's credit, there came a point in this book where I was heavily skimming. Actually, I didn't really even finish it. We'll get to that in a second. But, so there may have been a passage where it did explain it somehow and I completely missed it. But as far as I could tell, there was no explanation as to why these boys spoke not only in a strange dialect, but as if they were, say, several hundred years old. And no one thought this was strange. I mean, you've got two little boys who I think are, if I remember correctly, like 9, 10. They're young, maybe as old as 12, but young. And they're talking like they're, circa 1850, whatever. Okay, so that bothered me. I forgave all of this up to this point because, the dialogue and everything else, I just got through it. And there were some interesting plot jumps that I couldn't quite follow or didn't really, I followed them, but I was like, okay, maybe we could have done a little bit more there, but maybe they're just trying to move along and get to the meat of the story. And I have to say, there's some really gruesome murders that happen, like, holy crap, this is interesting, what is this? It doesn't tell you very explicitly, like, there's not a real good sign as to what the creature is that's doing the murders. Is it a vampire? It's kind of gruesome, there's blood and drain and that kind of thing, it's like, what's going on? Well, it wasn't vampires or ghouls or demons or beasties or things raised from hell or whatever. No, they weren't vampires. They were critters with what has to be, I believe, the single dumbest superpower explanation in a novel that I have read in a while. We're talking like 1950s sci-fi bad. Like Attack of the 50-Foot Woman bad. I firmly believe, and I am willing to give a whole lot of literary leniency on this, okay? But I do believe that power, when used, should have some sort of consequence, okay? Like, say you can move, like, mountains with your mind, okay? Maybe you're going to need to take a nap after you do that. Because, maybe a little tiring. You're moving an entire mountain with nothing but your brain. And let's just not even really analyze too hard about how much caloric intake you would have to be doing in order to make your brain do that kind of power. And seemingly in movies and comics, like, nobody ever even eats so much as like a sandwich. But that aside, if you have a power, perhaps there should be some sort of consequence, or maybe an explanation of why you have the power, or how you use it without completely destroying yourself when it's dumbest power ever. Like, I literally read it and I was like, this is so bad, I can't do this anymore. And so then I'm flipping through the book. I'm skimming. I'm not doing very well, and there comes this point where there is a plot twist that I didn't quite see coming, because granted I was focused on some other things going on in the book, but there was a plot twist that I didn't see coming, which was nice. Okay, this is good. These are points to the positive. Unfortunately, that plot twist came about because the characters acted totally out of character. Like, the way the plot twist happened and the meaning behind it made no sense. There was no foundational support for why this happened the way it happened, other than sort of a just magic wand, and of course they're going to act this way, and this is just what happened, and it was extreme circumstances or weird or stress or whatever. We're just going to completely set aside who these people are and how they act so that this thing can come about. So that didn't do good things for me either. So I didn't finish this. I skimmed it. I laughed out loud at places that I'm pretty sure I wasn't supposed to be laughing. And suffice to say, I was not overall thrilled. I kind of glad I bought it as a bargain. Does this mean that I'm never going to read another R.L. Stine book? No, absolutely not, because he's had dozens and dozens of books that I have really enjoyed. Everybody's got an off day, or an off year, or an off novel. And again, this kind of thing may work really well for somebody else who just thinks that this is the coolest thing they've ever read and that they really liked it. Amazon seems to be kind of erring on the side of me as opposed to that perspective, but that is not to say that there are some people who won't read this, absolutely love it, not do what I unfortunately do sometimes and intellectualize the crap out of things that shouldn't have intellectual components to them. Just read the book and enjoy it and shut up. But yeah. Red Rain, R.L. Stine, kind of -5 stars, 5 top hats, 5 roses, whatever the scale is we're going on here. One of these days I will pin one down, but not my favorite book. Yeah. So, unfortunately, that one did not work for me, and I tried to get through this review without any spoilers. I hope there weren't any unintentionally in here. If you want to try it, read it, please do. If you have a different opinion, please let me know. And thank you again to R.L. Stine for work and just in ideas and stories and things like that do come out there and do cause conversations, if nothing else. So for that, there's some positive to be harvested here. A little bit. Like, you know, a meager crumb. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me on this review. Hopefully we will have a more positive one next time. But until then, for the love of story, I hope you have a wonderful day.